In today's video we will discuss the top 10 black horror films. Please make sure you subscribe to the Top 10 Jaw-Dropping Facts channel. New episodes are released Monday through Friday. Number 10. The Girl with All the Gifts. 2016. I wanted to start on this film because despite its status as a straight-up zombie apocalypse movie, its message is one of hope, and I think we all need some of that right about now. Where most monster movies are structured with the protagonist in opposition to and seeking to destroy the monster, whatever that may represent, The Girl with All the Gifts subverts this formula to position the protagonist as the monster herself. Melanie Sania Nanua presents as a precocious young black girl incarcerated as a military test subject, but we discover as a human-hungry hybrid and the key to a vaccine for the deadly fungal virus which has overtaken the world. This film challenges everything the audience may take for granted about humanity and forces us to reconsider our most knee-jerk presumptions about who exactly the monsters in society are. Number 9. Atlantics. 2019. There are likely a bunch of purists squinting their eyes at this one, but Atlantics undoubtedly operates within the black horror tradition, tapping into the same narrative legacy as many of the films on this list. As I noted previously, romance is elemental within black horror. In this contemporary adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, French-Senegalese director Mati Diop redefines the possibilities of the possession narrative alongside a heart-wrenchingly beautiful ghost story that also offers a biting critique of patriarchal capitalism. In Atlantics, those who are lost never really leave, but rather guide us into ourselves. Number 8. Eve's Bayou. 1997. Eve's Bayou is a film about memory, and let me tell you, I remember seeing it in theaters as a child, at just about Journey Smollett's titular character's age, and this movie scared the shit out of me. Opening with the striking introduction, memory is a selection of images, some elusive, others printed indelibly on the brain. The summer I killed my father, I was 10 years old. Writer-director Kasi Lemmons introduces a framework for exploring a type of horror which is of the more subtle variety, namely, the disorienting terror of childhood, and the difficulties of parsing out the everyday monsters who live and walk amongst us. It's also about the beauty and magic of black girlhood, offering a rarer than should be the case glimpse of the world from our perspective. Number 7. Tales from the Hood. 1995. And Tales from the Hood 2. 2018. Unlike Blacula Scream, the sequel to Tales from the Hood doesn't quite live up to its predecessor, if only because it failed to evolve with its audience and dispel with the colorism. I will say, the last of the anthology's 4 tales is indeed harrowing, featuring a premise close to the upcoming Antebellum. The original, however, is an excellent reminder of the unfortunate fact of how little headway we've made as a country combating an anti-blackness that is part of its very DNA. Tackling overarching themes concerned with police brutality, domestic abuse, toxic masculinity, and structural racism overall, Tales from the Hood continues to be a painfully relevant watch over 20+ years since its original release. Number 6. Bones. 2001. If you love Candyman and are nipping at the heels for Nia DaCosta's soon-to-be-released adaptation, Bones is a fun piece to gnaw on in the meantime. Starring Snoop Dogg as a shape-shifting haunt, Ernest Dickerson's stab at gentrification horror also functions as a biting critique of black liberalism, which puts its faith and respectability to save us. While definitely somewhat dated, featuring a colorist and frankly bizarre rendition of an interracial family, its story threatens only those who forget who they are and where they come from. Number 5. Hair Wolf. 2019. Speaking of horror comedy camp, Mariama Diallo, Random Acts of Flyness, showcases her skills as a contemporary master with her short, Hair Wolf, where the black salon is the only safe spot in gentrified Brooklyn, and you never know if the white girls in Banton knots are moaning brains or braids. Packing layer upon layer of social commentary and real monstrous femininity into a neat 12 minutes, Hair Wolf is an extraordinary example of the brilliance we're gifted when black women are both in front of and behind the camera. Unsurprisingly, it's also aesthetically gorgeous. Watch this to get inspired for the future of horror. Number 4. Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight, 1995. Of all the films on this list, Demon Knight is likely the hardest to find, but 100% worth viewing, especially if you're a fan of the final girl trope. Starring Jada Pinkett Smith as Jerilyn, This feature accounts for one of the few truly great representations of a black final girl in horror history, redefining the parameters of the trope in the process. This is to say nothing of the sheer joy and hilarity inspired by The Crypt Keeper and the trademark horror camp of a Tales from the Crypt production. Number 3. Sugar Hill, 1974. Sugar Hill is a personal favorite of the Blaxploitation era, if only because I'm a sucker for a vengeance plot. This movie depicts many damaging tropes, but its lead, Sugar, played by Marky Bay, still moves with a certain amount of agency that's refreshing to watch. She is definitely what Dr. Robin Means Coleman refers to as an enduring woman, that is, she is characterized as a bringer of both justice and vengeance, mainly motivated by the murder of her male partner, which doesn't exactly make her feminist. In typical Hollywood fashion, she uses voodoo, so-called because it doesn't resemble any actual spiritual religious practice, as her weapon, but its treatment is in a way satisfying, as the practice isn't really positioned as evil. If you can hold the two truths of its colorist and patriarchal tendencies alongside its catharsis at once, this film can be a real joy. Number 2. Ganja Hess, 1973. It has to be stated that Ganja Hess is amongst the most beautiful films ever created. If you like something with mood, that's a bit dreamy and unsuspecting as a horror movie, this one's definitely for you. A lesser discussed feature of black horror is its element of romance, and this might be the most romantic vampire film in the history of vampire films, which is saying something. Apart from being visually stunning, the film follows in Blacula's footsteps in that it reconstructs the vampire as monster to reflect the anxieties of a community ravaged by addiction, illustrating the pinnacle of what black horror can do as a cultural technology. Number 1. Blacula, 1972, and Blacula Scream, 1973. I suggest both these films as a double feature, namely because they account for the rare case of a sequel being better than the original, which isn't to say the original is bad. If you remember from horror noir, Blacula, played by William Marshall, is significant because he represents the establishment of a distinctly black rendition of a vampire, even as still operating within the, literally exploitative, Blaxploitation framework. While there still exists the pimps and gangsters quality, Blacula is beloved for his refinement and worldliness, and a monstrosity most peaked in moments that echo the violence of enslavement. Blacula loves his people, and is sympathetic as the type of monster who complicates our ideas around monstrosity because he doesn't want to be a vampire. He too is just trying to get free. I hope you enjoyed our top 10 black horror films. Please leave a comment below for any movie you think we missed or you think should have been placed. Don't forget to subscribe. And new episodes come out every Monday through Friday.